Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the wrestling podcast. That's right, we're getting over with the wrestling podcast, and it is time for Money in the Bank, baby! That's right, Money in the Bank is coming your way this weekend, and we have got all the wrestling news, the review of the last one, the last pay-per-view, premium live event, and our preview on what we think is going to happen in the upcoming Money in the Bank. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. The big one, the one we like, the favourite. Share the podcast around. If you've got a wrestling fan in your life, send them this podcast. They will love it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Getting over.
Welcome on in, one and all. You have found the home of all things WWE right here on the CookieCast podcast network. That's right, it's time for a little getting over. Whether it's your first time or indeed your 74th time, we really appreciate you being here along for the ride with us. And on this episode, we'll be running through the results of WWE Backlash, seeing how that went for the predictions title, taking in a little news, and then setting up some predictions once again for this weekend's extravaganza. It is time for a little Money in the Bank. As always, I'm not here by myself, you'll be pleased to hear. And the YouTube viewers amongst you might have already seen that I am joined on this episode by Mr. Paul Williams, and of course, the illustrious leader of the CookieCast Network, Mr. Andrew Cook. You guys all right?
Very good, thank you.
No Mr. Moore this time around. He sends his apologies. He, I'm sure, will be back with us in the future. However, there are only 3 of us here, but I do still have 4 sets of predictions. One of those isn't Mr. Moore. I know, can you believe it? We'll get to that somewhat later in the episode. I suppose it's our invisible guest. It's not little Jimmy. I mean, you know, he has got a lot more time on his hands now, actually. Oh, well, we'll get to that as well, don't you worry. Right. Okay, we will get things rolling where we normally do, though, with the predictions title and the results from the last pay-per-view. So, Backlash was the last time we were here chatting away. And last time we did the predictions, the unthinkable happened. Well, if you listen to Andy, because he retained the gold in a tie-break situation. Would lightning strike twice this time around, or will there be a backlash after these results? You're welcome. Get one in early for you, Paul. So, Backlash largely turned out to be predictable. And as such, we didn't really do too badly with the scoring. All of us scored either 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. But who got what? Well, I can tell you, as I told him earlier this week, Paul did not finish at the higher end of that scale. Paul got 3. Matt got 3. I got 4. And that means that so did Andy. So guess what, Andy? You know what time it is.
At this point in time,
another podcast.
At this point in time, I would like to say I am starting to forget my children's names with the amount of stadium capacities I have to hold in my head between podcasts. I am also working on a formula which allows me to calculate the distance between all stadiums in the greater United States area in case of a tie-break situation where it requires said formula.
Well, I mean, let's face it, you kind of need it every episode, the way that we've been going of late. I will say, however...
Don't forget Canada, Andrew. They do have premium
the
live
Great White North.
I mean, come on, we're all just waiting for the day when they have one back over here, and I rock up with a question of, right, so we had this in San Francisco. How long would it take you to drive?
I'll tell you to walk.
Okay, but yeah, like I said, I want weirdly another weird one. I was at the top end of the predictions this time, so I couldn't set the tie break. So that was Paul's job. So, Mr. Williams, over to you.
So I've tried to theme it as we have done for certain time breaks in the past. Obviously, the upcoming premium live event that we're going to be predicting later on in the show is Money in the Bank. Now, since its inception, obviously people win the briefcase. They then choose when they want to cash the briefcase in. So, if we take the ladies out of the equation, as I imagine they would skew the question somewhat for sort of things that will become apparent later on in the question, with Damien Priest at the top end of having held the briefcase for 281 days prior to his cash-in, and Kane at the other end of the spectrum holding it for 49 minutes before his cash-in, the tiebreaker question is, just for the men's briefcase, what is the average number of days that the briefcase has been held before being cashed in? And I've got my information. I'm going to quote my source here, as I feel that is very relevant. This information has been taken from smarkoutmoment.com. So yes. So if you just write down your answer to what is the average number of days that the men's Money in the Bank briefcase has been held before being cashed in. If you write down your answer, and we'll go with whoever gets closest to the pin. Do you both have an answer written down?
Can I just ask you, what did you say Priest was? 280 something?
So Priest, this is according to smarkoutmoment.com, Priest clocked in at 281 days.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I've got an answer written down.
Okie dokie. Andy's the current reigning champ, isn't he?
Correct.
You want to give your answer first, Andy, or second?
Yeah, I'll just pull the plaster off, I think.
130. Stu, are you over or under 130?
I'm over, but it is very different. So, I mean, hopefully you won't need a calculator here, but I have gone for 219.
Interesting. So the winner, and still the Cookie Cast podcast predictions champion, that was the word I was looking for, is Mr. Andrew Cook. The actual number is 98 days.
Oh, wow.
So
my original guess was going to be 100 days.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was quite surprised by that, because you've only got Priest, Edge, Rollins, and Ziggler that were over 200 days.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I was thinking that theirs would be, there would have been a few kind of in the middle, but I thought theirs would push it over 200.
So that was my thought. At first, I was thinking it might be 6 months on average, something like that. But no, it's like just over 3 months by the sound of it. But yeah, if I'd have included the women in it brought it all the way down to something like 70. Yeah, so if you include the women in it, just the women's on average is less than 60 days, so 2 months basically. That's obviously skewed by the fact that you had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the women's was cashed in within 1 day. So
also as well depends in if you're counting Carmella's first and second.
So Carmella's first reign is classed as 2 days, and then after that, she is actually the longest reigning Money in the Bank holder. She held it for 287 days, and she's no longer with the company. So very nice. Yes, so very well done, Mr. Cook. You retain your championship. Lovely stuff.
So indeed, Lightning has struck twice. Andy has retained. Well done, Andy, on a tiebreak. between the four of us, we still couldn't manage a full set of results because everybody had gone for Becky to beat Lyra, and she didn't. Matt was the only person who picked Pat McAfee to beat Gunter, so obviously lost a point for that as well. And then Paul had Orton to win by DQ in the main event. Obviously didn't happen either. In terms of the matches, Backlash was pretty forgettable for me. Don't think there was really much to excite. The Cena Orton thing was okay, but it was more probably about the occasion. Gunther, Pat McAfee. Go on, Paul. Sorry, you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say that the Cena Orton thing was fine, but it almost felt as if you took out like the first 15 minutes of the match and just left, like, you just had like the 5 or so that they had like at the end. That was where all the action, happened and stuff like that.
Yeah, they definitely went old school and tried to build it, but I think people weren't. I don't know, just the whole place just seemed flat. I genuinely think that the match of the night was probably the Intercontinental title match, which was Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. That was good fun. But yeah, I was going to say the Gunter Pat McAfee. I think it's almost a bit of like you kind of watch it to see if there's going to be an accident, if that makes sense, because of McAfee's inexperience. But actually, he did pretty well.
He always has, hasn't he? He's like,
yeah.
In the match he's had in the past, he's never really had any stinkers and stuff like that. And I think, because you think he was trained by Rick Rogers, so obviously like he's pretty old school, and like, he probably trained him in like the old school methods and stuff like that. So he should be pretty much spot on with his in-ring work.
Yeah, but like I say, it wasn't a classic by any stretch. So yeah, I wasn't really going to go into it too much other than the results, if that's all right with you guys, unless there's anything burning.
Well, the only thing I would say is the fact that Drew took that nasty bump off the sort of, well, I can't even think what it was, like a staging piece or something like that, where he smashed it off the concrete. That looked bad. And
helpfully, they hadn't announced that match when we. Oh no, they had. It was the US title one, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with Saturday Night's Main Event. Yeah, agreed. That was, not fun. That match was kind of ruined anyway with the Mateo, or JC Mateo as he is now, because couldn't think of different initials to give him other than the initials of his name that everybody knows him by. Okay. Right. Okay. We'll go into some news then. And obviously probably should have started with this. Apologies for not, as we normally do when this kind of thing happens. But, since the last podcast, Sabu, ECW legend, has passed away. Real name Terry Brunk, nephew of the Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, the Sheik. Sabu became a pioneer of hardcore wrestling when finding a home in Extreme Championship Wrestling. If you ever want to show somebody what ECW was all about, go and show them Sabu versus RVD against Mick Foley and obviously Taz. If you've never seen any of the Sabu versus Taz matches and you've not just eaten, knock yourself out. It's certainly a sight. But yeah, in 2006, Sabu got his chance in WWE and even had world title matches against Rey Mysterio and John Cena. He unfortunately passed away just weeks after his retirement match, aged 60. The match in question? A victory against Joey Janela in a no-rope barbed wire contest. Pretty much Route 1 standard Sabu. But yeah, obviously thoughts with family, friends and fans at this time. And just a massive thank you to Sabu for the memories and, well, putting hardcore wrestling on the map, because ECW certainly changed the business, despite what Vince will tell you. And he was a huge, huge part of that. Okay, so moving on to slightly happier things now. Have you guys seen there's been an announcement for Evolution 2? This has largely flown under the radar, but in my book.
Yeah. I know it was like on the cards as a possibility, but I didn't know it'd actually been like fully announced and stuff like that.
It has been. It's the sequel to, obviously, Evolution, which was now 7 years ago.
Jesus.
Like, that has flown past. It was in 2018. So Evolution 2 is set to take place on Sunday, July the 13th. And it's going to be from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. It seems to have got a bit of a mixed reaction online from what I've seen. But, like, what do we think? Like, happy?
Will it be all women?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? I'm happy.
The last time there was, I think it was Cole and Graves on
Oh,
commentary with
there was
not Becky, it's Renee Young.
yeah. Yeah, the commentary team will probably still be the fellas because they haven't, unless they're gonna throw like what Kathy Kelly in there, and yeah, I can't see it. I think the fellas will still be on commentary, but I'm happy that some of the women who don't really get time to shine might get a bit more TV time in the build up, and genuinely hoping that it kickstarts a couple of careers. Part of me feels that they need to rebalance the rosters women wise somewhat, and this has kind of started in the last few weeks. So there's been some main roster call ups for Roxanne Perez, Julia, and Stephanie Vaquer from the NXT roster. But NXT itself has just had an embarrassment of riches for a good long while now. And the main rosters really have either been ravaged by injury or people being off. So, like, obviously, Charlotte's had horrendous injuries in the last couple of years. Jade Cargill injured not long after she first debuted when they thought they were going to get that fresh. Rhea has had her biceps injuries, just in and out a lot. Liv, obviously, in the same vein. And of course, Becky just not been around for the best part of a year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it kind of, the women's division definitely needs a bit of a spark, I think, and obviously couple that with the last time around we talked about the releases. They've really had a good sort of seemingly clear out in NXT. They've had a good shuffle around of Raw and SmackDown, and then already they've started to bring new people into NXT for those that have moved up, because just this week, the artist formerly known as Mariah May in AEW, name yet to be decided, I think, in WWE, has made her debut on NXT. So they've definitely got a plan, to me, of who's going where, and it'd be interesting now to see what matches they come up with, because the first Evolution was from off the top of my head pretty good. Seems to remember that Becky and Charlotte match being an absolute banger. So they have got a bit of a way to go, but they've got no excuse for not making it good, because since then they've still got obviously the women's tag titles. They've now got 2 mid-card titles for the women, and they've got 2 main titles as well, as it were. So they've instantly got a 5-match card if they really want to go down that route. But I mean, they could probably pad it out to 6 or 7 if they really want to. Okay, another event, not that has been announced, but has already taken place since the last time we were on, was Saturday night's main event. Now, obviously, it's not a premium live event, so we don't necessarily cover that directly. But some important news from the 24th of May edition was the conclusion of the Jey Uso versus Logan Paul match. John Cena interfered, and Cody made the save. So Jey had the match won. Cena came out to try and help Logan Paul win the World Heavyweight title and ruin wrestling. Cue Cody Rhodes making his return to fight off Cena. What do we think to the way they're setting this up? Is it just going to go immediately back to Cena versus Cody?
I'd like to think not. To me, it just seemed like they'd sort of just like pulled the trigger a bit too early, bringing him back. Like, I know obviously it got a big pop and stuff like that, but it just felt like that pop would have been even bigger if you could have kept him off until like Survivor Series or something like that. So I just think that, well, I suppose for what of a better phrase, shat themselves and just sort of gone a bit early.
I think Survivor Series would have been way too much. SummerSlam probably been ideal. Or if there had been a title match at Money in the Bank, maybe give it another 2 or 3 weeks after. But I'm wondering, and obviously we'll get to it because the people within that sort of ending will come to blows this weekend. I wonder if they're going to do something this weekend which will throw Cody back off the scent of the title until a little bit further down the line. I mean, we've said it before anyway, whether it's been just between ourselves or actually on the podcast, but somewhere down the line, Cody's probably going to be the guy that takes the belt back off him because he's got to finish another story. That's what he does. So having it, you want him to be interwoven in the story throughout the year, but you don't want him to be necessarily the main character for 95% of the time. Again, to echo what Paul said, this just screams of shit, panic, and yeah. So we'll see. I think this weekend has got to be that chance that they take to get somebody different, whether it's it's going to be a rerun of an old match that's maybe happened before, or if it's got to be somebody brand new that's going after him. But I was convinced until Raw that it was going to be Punk, and at some point we're going to get Punk Cena again, just for like another arc on the Greatest Hits tour, but certainly not to be via the Money in the Bank route at least. And speaking of things that are not to be, 3 contract expiries have popped up in the last week. Valhalla, Carlito, and R-Truth. So another podcast, another set of releases. I suppose not releases. It's just like I say, the contract expiry. Can't really say that I'm surprised by Valhalla or Carlito, to be honest. Neither have really added much value since their returns. I can't even genuinely remember the last time I saw Valhalla even accompany the War Raiders to the ring. I couldn't even tell you if she's had a full singles match since she came back.
Well, yeah, not off the top of my head.
I think she's had as many singles matches as she has worn shoes to the ring, which is still 0. And Carlito's been okay. He's mustered a few comedy spots backstage, and obviously been broken in half by Braun Breaker's spear. But again, other than running interference or being the guy that just makes up the numbers in a multi-man tag team match, he's not exactly done anything. His face has been there, but yeah, I wasn't surprised by that one. R-Truth is definitely the biggest surprise. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that was in the crowd at Raw on Monday night crying about it, because I can understand it. But he was never going to win a world title, but he was always in and around TV and like in and amongst stories. So obviously we've talked about the Judgment Day a lot over the last, well, however many years now on here. He was always in and around that as the comedy spot in that, but he was actually wrestling as part of it. Everything with the Miz, like harking back to the Awesome Truth and everything, he's been back in amongst that over the last year or so. He's just kind of been an ever-present, really. And I know he's, I don't want to say getting on a bit, but I think he's 53 now. So again, that probably doesn't help him with the world title picture or anything like that, but just a bit of a surprise, really, because it's a bit like it sort of feels like they've got rid of one of the originals, as it were.
Well, I mean, I think the strangest point for me was the fact that it wasn't as if he was just like the guy who'd pop up like every sort of like couple of weeks on Raw or something like that. He was on like every single week, and he was fairly central to sort of certain storylines and stuff like that. So it wasn't as if he was just. I mean, he obviously was there as the sort of the comic relief element of the show, but he was clearly popular, and to a certain extent, you could say he was a bit of a draw. So,
Well, his last two matches on the way out the door, the main event at Saturday night's main event against John Cena, and also whoever had the foresight to have the swivel to put the farewell tour Ron Cena with R-Truth on the front of the shirt and have him come out dressed like John Cena, that was a stroke of genius.
no one saying it's like one that it was like for a time it was like the second highest selling shirt on the website or something like that. For like a week or something like that.
Still couldn't get hold of it. Like to now, they've not kept up with the stock of it. Obviously, they will still sell it as long as they're making money off it. The only funny part of the whole ordeal seems to be the crowd reaction from Raw on Monday. It's been doing the rounds online about how people chanting for R-Truth has been sort of turned down a little bit in the you maybe won't hear it if you were to watch it back on Netflix at this point in time, but it was very loud in the arena. And apparently after Raw went off the air, CM Punk, very tongue-in-cheek, took a microphone to speak to the crowd at the end of the night and said, "How dare you chant for somebody that's not even here?" Was it 8 years they did that for Punk, possibly? I thought that was quite funny. I enjoyed that comment. But yeah, that is all of the bits and bobs of news that I have since last time we were here. Which kind of then means that it's going to be predictions time. Money in the Bank 2025. And this year, it emanates from the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California on Saturday, the 7th of June. This is the arena which kickstarted the Netflix era by hosting the first show on the streaming service back in January this year. It feels like a lot longer than that, by the way. As a side note as well, WWE are also holding Worlds Collide, a joint show featuring NXT and the Lucha Libre AAA promotion earlier in the same day. And that's at the nearby Kia Forum. So Californian WWE fans are in for a real treat this weekend. But in terms of podcast business, we are just focusing on the Money in the Bank event predictions. The reason that I didn't want to go for the Worlds Collide one was because, one, we've got one episode to play with this time around. It's not WrestleMania. And two, I don't really know any of the AAA wrestlers, if I'm entirely honest. And if I picked straight up NXT wrestlers, I'm probably going to be wrong quite a lot. And I'm guessing that you guys might have gone down a similar vein. So we'll save some embarrassment by not getting any of them wrong in that regard. But for the main Money in the Bank Premium Live event, at the time of recording, we don't even have the Levesque Standard 5. It's just 4 matches currently listed on WWE.com, where, of course, all the match card information was taken from and is correct at the time of recording. And with that being said, we should take the first step into the predictions, because it's like ladders and shit. Sorry, Paul. Why do I apologise? I feel I make a dad joke and I always apologise to Paul. I feel like this is your training, Paul. One day you will soak in enough dad jokes that you will just do an entire podcast on your own about it.
Yeah, it might happen.
Paul, earlier today somebody stole my antidepressants. Wherever they are right now, I hope they're happy.
And on that note, the first match on the list is indeed a rematch. So for the second straight Premium Live event, we have Lyra Valkyria defending her Intercontinental title against Becky Lynch. This time, we have the added caveat of if Becky loses, she can no longer challenge for the Intercontinental title whilst Lyra holds it. But if Lyra loses the title, she must raise Becky's hand and acknowledge her as the better woman. After Lyra retained the title at Backlash, Becky actually assaulted her there and then after the bell. Lyra wasn't taking it lying down and responded in kind, or not, I guess, by attacking Becky during the triple threat match where she had the chance to compete for a spot in the Money in the Bank match itself. Obviously, Lyra cost her that opportunity. Are we going to get the same result as last time out with Lyra left holding the gold, or will the man come around to claim her first Intercontinental Championship? Well, before we start to give our predictions, as I said, Matt's not with us tonight. Haven't got predictions from Matt. However, special shout out to podcast long-time listener and now podcast contributor, Max Hepworth. He has promised he will be on a future episode, but unfortunately double booked himself for this evening. But he has furnished me with a set of predictions. So there is a real chance that he could walk onto his first podcast and just take the predictions title and it's game over from that point, right? I mean, we'll find out when it'll be Max versus Andy in the next tiebreak next time around. I have mine and Max's predictions already in the book, but I feel like we should kick off with Andy, seeing as he's repeated. We'll give him the first prediction on the new set of points to be had. So, Lyra or Becky for you, Mr. Cook?
I have the man winning this one.
Okay.
I don't want to be it seems like the easy title change to get the title change in there, etc. Things like that. But it just makes the most sense to go that way with this one for me. It seems like again, I don't want to say the easiest win. That's necessarily right, but it just feels like the most fitting way of doing it.
You know, Becky is in the book. Paul?
Yeah, same for me, please. It's like almost like not angle alert, but it's almost like when they put the stipulation on where it's like if so and so doesn't win, they can never challenge for the title again. It's always like so they're winning then. And it's almost like it's one of these. Obviously, she's never won it before because it's a new title. But obviously, completist in her will probably be thinking, well, I need to have a reign with that title before I retire. So let's get it ticked off. But what I will say is something we should have probably covered when we were going through Backlash. Probably Lyra's best match.
Easily.
Or the match where she showed the most personality.
Yeah, agreed. I thought she did really well, actually. And I think since Backlash as well, her performances on Raw have had a bit more sort of shtick behind it. It's been good.
Yep, couldn't agree more on that one.
So I have also gone for Becky. Exactly the reason that Paul said. Don't put the caveats on it because it's effectively spoilers. Unless it'll have to be something really hokey for them to get around it. Because at some point, Becky Lynch is winning that title. For her to go 2 and get beaten both times, can't see it. So Becky for me.
Well, and she lost the NXT title to her.
Yes, exactly. So she still owes her one.
So unless they're going to tell that story that she just can't beat her, potentially.
Well, I mean, they're trying to do that with Punk and Rollins at the moment, aren't they? By sort of then keeping them apart, but referencing it all the time that Punk's never lost to him. Can't imagine they'll have fought that many times, really. But
exactly.
But yeah, as I said, we've got these predictions from Max. He stormed in first prediction, taking a flight to Points Island right off the bat. He's gone for Lyra to retain. So who knows? He did send me some stuff actually, along with his predictions. It wasn't just the predictions, which was very much appreciated. So for his prediction on this one, where are we? He's put, I've got a feeling that Bayley's going to come out leading to a feud between the 3. And then as Becky Lynch can say that Lyra didn't win clean because of the interference, it'll then give her the chance to sort of carry on. I could see that happening. Bayley's in and around that kind of bracket of also will definitely win this title at some point because, as we all know, there is absolutely no way she won. But he also then went on to say that from the 4 predictions that he's given me, he fully expects the result to be 0 for 4. So he might be off to a flyer with that one at least. We'll see. Okay, so we have got another 3 matches to get to. But time is somewhat against us at this very moment in our particular timeline, but not in yours. We will be right back with the other 3 matches. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. See? No time. No time at all. And we'll dive straight through into our second match. Now, this match will probably, or it certainly has a chance of main event in the whole premium live event. But I've gone for this as second on the predictions as one, it keeps the Money in the Bank matches till the end, and 2, not really sure anybody cares overly much. So this match is, of course, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso, versus WWE Champion John Cena and Logan Paul. But as I said, a match featuring both brands' world champions, and nobody cares. Disgraceful. Ironically, WWE themselves are billing this on their own website as one of the biggest tag team matches in WWE history. Why? There's nothing on the line as yet. Still won't be by the time we get to the weekend. No potential world title shots. Nothing. Just a man who's vowed to ruin wrestling, teaming with a man who drinks Prime and is hated by an entire Asian country. Don't Google it. Against the 2 biggest baby faces in the company at this point in time. The match came about after the shenanigans at Saturday night's main event, which we discussed earlier. But again, why? Are Cody and Jey going to win? Or do the bad guys come out in prime position? There's another one for you, Paul. There's my 3 for the podcast. I'll leave that alone from this point. Okay, so Andy went first last time. So, Paul, do you want to go first this time?
So I've got a couple of thoughts about this one. Have they put it together so they can give Cena a loss without him losing the title? Just a thought. So, I mean, the logical thing would be that, it's a tag match. What are you doing, Logan? Do you want to come and take a pin, son? That'd be nice. Yeah, I just think it's one of those ones where, like, if you wanted to build the back to the Cody versus John Cena sort of like storyline, you could have Cena pin. Christ almighty, have Rhodes pin Cena. Obviously, he doesn't win the belt back, but it does hand a pinfall loss to Cena on his final year without him actually losing the title. So I've talked myself into it. That is the answer that I will be going for. Rhodes and Uso to win. Whether or not it's Cena that takes the pin, that would be my sort of like my guess. But either way, I think it'll be them 2 that win.
Okay, well, I agreed. I didn't go on the basis of Cody pinning Cena just to prolong it even further. I personally think it'll be Logan Paul that takes it. Because then there's the whole, well, I beat you in a tag team match. And then they'll have some kind of other shenanigans and just string it out a bit longer. So I too have gone for Cody and Jey. Max, on the other hand, again, just loves to absolutely go against everything I've clearly picked. So he has gone for Cena and Logan Paul to win. Exactly. He's put. He wouldn't be surprised if Logan Paul turned on Cena at some point. Maybe the final boss comes out. But genuinely, he's put, think this is where Rollins, spoiler, comes out to cash in. Punk interferes, and that leads us on to Punk versus Cena. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's where he's gone with that one. I'm still gonna stand by my Cody and Jay pick though, but it does leave Mr. Cook to round it out for us for this particular round of picks.
If CM Punk had been in the running for the Money in the Bank, I had a whole other prediction set up. However, I agree with everything that's been said, but that includes something that was said earlier about I think they've pulled the trigger too soon. And because of that, they need to then loop back to keep the powder dry. And something that both of you have completely ignored. There is a scenario where I have to pick a certain someone to win this match. So that is my prediction.
Oh, okay.
So, has he got around to actually having to say the words?
John Cena and his partner.
Andy, blink twice if you need us to send help. Okay. Okay, so that's a 50-50 split on that one for us. Okay, well, you never know, Andy. We might not need that tie break next time around after all. Right. It is time. It's Money in the Bank time, and we're going to go with the women's match first. So this time around, we have got Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie Vaquer. Not the greatest surname in the world with a whole accent, I'll give you that. As with last year, all of the Money in the Bank participants have been determined via a series of triple threat matches across Raw and SmackDown. However, this time around, it seems like the triple threat matches have not only been set up to produce qualifiers, but also just for people to just come and interfere in, because that's been a running theme throughout it. Alexa Bliss defeated Michin and Chelsea Green. Boo hiss, because Chelsea should have been in there. Roxanne defeated Natalya and Becky Lynch. That was after the attack from Lyra that we mentioned earlier. Rhea triumphed when she hit Kairi Sane with the Riptide after Zoe Stark retired from the match with a horrific knee injury. Again, much like the ECW comment earlier, if you've not just eaten and you fancy seeing a horrific leg injury, Google it. It is not fun. Obviously, best wishes to Zoe Stark. I really like Zoe Stark. She was great in NXT. Never really got much of a chance. And she could have been one of the ones in the build-up to Evolution 2 that really got a bit of a spark out of it, for sure. But unfortunately, the only thing she will be doing is sat with her leg up because... Oh, and also, she tried to walk out of her own volition after essentially bending her knee sideways. Yeah. Ow.
That's definitely one of those ones where I'll be amazed if she has any of her CLs attached. A, M, P, all gone.
If she manages to get back into active competition again, she is going to have a bigger knee brace than Stone Cold ever had.
Do you reckon there's a way that you can just put a full-on cage around the knee? Like, no brace, just literally just like essentially just an entire sort of roll of bubble wrap.
I'm okay talking about it now on the podcast because it happened quite a while ago, but genuinely after seeing it for the first time, there was about 3 or 4 days afterwards where every time I thought about it, I felt a little bit sick. It was that bad. It was just really bad. I mean,
it's bad, isn't it, when the knee bends 90 degrees the opposite way than it should?
Yeah. She basically tried to do a basement drop kick onto Kairi Sane, and as she jumped to then sort of aim her kick downwards, it looked like the toe of her boot got stuck on the canvas and almost velcroed. And yeah, bye walking for the next however many months that's going to be. She's not going to be anywhere near in the next 12 months. But yeah, anyway, like I say, best wishes to Zoe Stark. Just, moving back into the qualifiers, Julia defeated the women's United States champion Zelina Vega and 14-time women's champion Charlotte Flair, whilst Naomi went up against longtime rival Jade Cargill and Nia Jax. She pinned Nia to earn the spot in the annual ladder match festivities. The newcomer to Monday Night Raw took the last spot as Stephanie Vaquer defeated Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile. Paul was alluding to some statistics earlier on about length of time, but the women's ladder match, over the winners over the years can boast of a 100% success rate. So the winner is highly likely to convert the case into gold. But in a field containing such a solid mix of youth and experience, which way does it go? Max hasn't messed about. He's gone straight in for the newcomer. He's gone for Stephanie Vaquer. And he said, even though he wants Rhea Ripley to win, and he will be wearing his Mammy t-shirt whilst he watches, he doesn't think she really needs the briefcase. She's already, in his view, the biggest star, and by giving it to somebody else, it's giving them a chance to flourish. And of the somebody else's, he's picked the newest acquisition to Monday nights and Stephanie Vaquer. I agree with him. I won't be wearing my Mammy t-shirt because I don't have one of those. But I have gone for another newcomer, and I've gone for Roxanne Perez. I think she's just got that. She had a little bit more of a tenure in NXT, and I think in terms of standing, gone straight into the storyline with the Judgment Day. Having the case in the mix there probably kind of helps out a little bit as well. So I've gone for Roxanne Perez to win. Andy?
I also agree with absolutely everything that's been said. Yeah, we'd all like to, but she just doesn't need it. It's always been one of those sort of platforms for launching people to put them in the eyes. And, you see them a lot more, see what they can do and stuff. However, I've gone with a different pick so far. So I've gone with Naomi.
Okay.
Having the briefcase dials up the feud with Jade and gang. So, yeah.
Obviously, as well, the recent character change for Naomi to be heel. Do not tell me that woman does not take her job seriously. The amount of extra time she's putting in on the socials and stuff as well. Might have been a little bit too far when it was Jade Cargill's birthday recently, and she did a little video of her sending her a birthday cake. Have you seen this?
No.
So if you've seen Naomi's recent change in her ring gear, in her hair she has like a lot of razor blades and caution tape. And it's a lovely birthday cake, and it's been iced specially, and it says "Happy Birthday, Jade." As she's repackaging it after pushing razor blades into the cake. So she's she's fully invested. And just to make sure that it didn't look like the cake had been tampered with in any way, shape, or form, she sealed it up with black and yellow caution tape. Anyway, Paul, that now leads you to round out the women's Money in the Bank pick, and we've got 3 different choices so far. Are you going to make it 4?
I don't know how everyone else feels, but this is the first year, I would say potentially ever, that legitimately you could make a case for all 6 of the people having like a almost already built storyline for them to win it. So that's why I think it's wide open. So we had Vaquer, Naomi, and Perez as the first 3 picks, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I too will be going for a new name. I've gone for Julia to win it. I think it will be a heel that gets the win. So that means it has to be either Roxanne, Naomi, or Julia. Alexa's like the sort of the on the fence one there, because is she back as a face? Is she back as a heel? Does anyone really know? I get the stuff that's been said about Rhea not needing it. When has that ever stopped them in the past? Plus, it's another one of those like sort of completionist things where she's never won it before, so kind of needs it to tick it off the list. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rhea doesn't it, but I think it's one of those ones where it's almost like if you want to implement this new person coming to the roster and give them a bit of a shot in the arm. It's like when Corbin went up to the main roster at WrestleMania 32 and they had him win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, kind of gave him that shot in the arm straight away to sort of get him off on the right foot. And I think this would be a perfect way to sort of get Julia sort of into the conscience of the viewers. So okay. Julia, for me, please.
Okay, lovely stuff in the book. So far then, between the four of us, we haven't got a matching set of predictions. So unless there's weird balancing out, we might not get that tiebreak after all. And the fourth match may indeed add just to the confusion. So, in terms of the predictions, it's main event time. The men's Money in the Bank match. And this time, we've got Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Penta, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. As with the ladies, the gents have all been through a series of triple threats to determine who gets a chance to climb that ladder of success. And as with the ladies, there's been a lot of shenanigans in these triple threat matches. Solo Sikoa essentially stole the first spot in the contest when Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo helped him take the win over Jimmy Uso and Rey Fénix. LA Knight was up next, and he bested Aleister Black, the returning Aleister Black, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Chad Gable had a chance to qualify, but blew it against two masked competitors when Penta grabbed the third spot in the match. Seth Rollins locked up the fourth spot by defeating Sami Zayn and Finn Balor on Raw, whilst Andrade got a somewhat surprising qualification by beating Carmelo Hayes and US champion Jacob Fatu. The final spot, as we've mentioned earlier, was contested between CM Punk, AJ Styles, and El Grande Americano. Punk was distracted by Bronson Reed, and as AJ went for the phenomenal forearm, El Grande Americano hit the loaded headbutt with the metal plate in his mask to pick up the win. So, some people may argue that it's unfair because Chad Gable had two bites of the cherry, particularly...
Whoa. What do you mean?
Well, have you not seen the thing about his boots?
No, but that was because he lost his boots. He was that poor guy. He went through absolute hell to even get there. And you reach in your bag, you go to pull out your wrestling boots, and they're just not there, Stuart. What's he supposed to do?
Well, firstly, you would know that the weight of your bag was different if they'd gone, surely.
Nope. If he's in a rush, and if I know that guy, he definitely will have been rushing about.
I enjoy it.
He's probably Mexican, but, he would definitely be rushing about.
It started. Did everybody hear that? Note this time down. Time check on the podcast, listeners and viewers. This is Paul's first dad joke on getting over. It's finally happened.
Yes, carry
on. The bit that I particularly enjoyed was the Chad Gable tweet directing back at people who'd asked about why El Grande was wearing his boots. And he'd mentioned about how he had to lend them to El Grande, but he'd stretched them out.
Did you see that someone had taken it to the next level and went seriously, this guy, the dedication this guy's got, he even stole Chelsea Green's boots for the match. Well, that was quite good.
I saw a thing online where it was whose boots has he stolen? Wrong answers only. And about 50 people that had the initial CG just replied saying, me, who was wondering where I put them. So, just the general public. Right. So that's the field. we've got an ever-growing list of Money in the Bank winners at this point, but who's going to be the latest name on that list? I don't think I've been first this time, so I'll go first this time. I have gone for L.A. Knight. So there's a couple of things here. I want it to be somebody new. Like that is my thing. And Solo Sikoa could have been one of them. Penta could have been one of them. Not a fucking chance Andrade is going to be one of them. And the same for El Grande Americano by my odds. I mean, clearly the last two are in there just for the lucha influence on the action, right? Well, at least one of them.
Well, it's also in LA, so.
Well, they seem to have. I'm impressed almost, if that's the right word, that they've even let Sikoa into the match because they seem to have really gone off him since Jacob Fatu's just taken over what was the new bloodline. Penta, I don't know that I trust him yet with it. And as we were saying before about who needs what with Rhea, Seth Rollins absolutely does not need this. He's got the whole faction, his new faction behind him with Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and obviously been backed up by Paul Heyman. He doesn't need a briefcase to be near the world title picture. The only way that Rollins kind of needs it is because he's the biggest heel in the match. This time around, however, in terms of the champions they could be facing, you already have a heel champion in John Cena. So therefore, this is their opportunity to give the briefcase to a face. Something happened in the background of one of the episodes a few weeks ago where a huge mural had been painted. John Cena had been, I was going to say reached around, but that is very much the wrong words to use. And a big arm was reaching over his shoulder to prise away that title. And the mural depicted that was none other than LA Knight. So he fits the bill in the sense of he's a new name for the briefcase. He's somebody who absolutely needs to be like kicked up the arse to get to the top of that card because his United States title stuff ended up falling a little flat, but yet he's still completely over with the crowd. So I'm wondering if that was a little bit of foreshadowing, hence my pick of LA Knight. Purely based on his reaction, I'm going to go to Andy next.
Through a series of elimination, I managed to wheel it down. 2 names. Seth Rollins and LA Knight. When I had those 2 names in front of me, I went, well, there we go. That's basically as cut and dry as it could possibly be. And I went with LA Knight because, like I said, Seth Rollins absolutely doesn't need it. Like I kind of preempted it all earlier when I was saying, they used this as a launching pad because I knew I was doubling down on both predictions. And I looked at it and I was like, you're not going to win, you're not going to win. And it just went like that. And I was like, there are only 2 names left. And of those 2 names, one of them's definitely not winning it. That was that. So, LA Knight.
Okay, you are in the book for that as well. Just to throw Max's in there, obviously I did kind of spoil it earlier with his reasoning behind one of the other results, but he's actually he's torn on it. He's put to give Rollins faction any kind of traction, a win for him carrying the briefcase would be massive for the group as a whole. But he can't see how CM Punk doesn't get himself involved and screw Rollins out of the briefcase to continue the feud. For him, he's got Rollins to win, attempted cash in, and then screwed by Punk. But there is the possibility that Rollins keeps the briefcase as for some unknown reason Punk comes out prior to the contract being cashed in or something like that. He wants LA Knight to win though, as he thinks him with the briefcase is guaranteed money. But overall, he's still going for Rollins to win. Paul, that gives you, sir, the last pick of this episode. So where is your money headed?
I really don't know with this one. I've seen I've seen a couple of different sort of things that people have said to sort of piece it together. So the argument for Rollins getting it would be 10 years since he had it. And obviously he did the cash in at Mania and stuff like that. So you've got the option to do that. I was watching something where they said that on the Raw that's coming up this coming Monday, it's Jay versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. So obviously there's been a lot of stuff where Jay's been involved with Rollins. So the argument there was Rollins takes the briefcase and then cashes in either during the match on Raw or after the match is finished on Raw to get the title. I kind of like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I don't think Rollins will win it. However, I don't really know. Like you said, I mean, let's be honest. No one in their right mind is picking Andrade. Solo, like you said, the shine's just completely gone off him because he's been completely outshone by Jacob. I kind of feel the same way about LA Knight. I just feel like the shine's gone off him. To be honest with you, I just feel like he's almost like floundering a little bit. I know he's still getting the pop from the crowd and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just think so. The other thing I'd see was that they quite like the idea of El Grande Americano winning it, and then Chad Gable having the sort of the dilemma of, fuck, how do I actually get this? How do I sort of get this into a way where I can like get the briefcase onto myself? And stuff like that. So for want of a, let's see how they can book their way out of this one. I'll go for El Grande Americano to win it.
I think if they're going to do that, they're going to have to do it in the match, in the sense of the finale would have to be, or two ways of doing it. The finale would either have to be everybody's laid out apart from El Grande. He climbs up to the top of the ladder, takes the briefcase, then unmasks himself, or somebody unmasks him during the match and then he just goes on to win. That's the only way I think they can do that, because
like there's probably Penta, you'd imagine.
There's no way they're going to be able to do it. Even with all the shenanigans that Netflix could possibly offer with camera work or anything, there's no way that they're going to be able to do Chad Gable versus El Grande for the briefcase at any point.
Do you wonder if they've gone through the sort of the rigmarole of trying to figure out if they can find a guy who is like as close to the build and height and weight of Chad, so they can run the two like concurrently.
I mean, they're always constantly going through the process of recruitment, aren't they, in terms of tryouts and stuff. So the chances of them finding someone similar, like height, stature, everything, they've definitely got a shot. I think my only concern there would be, how are they going to get him the same level of fake tan when Chad Gable has already clearly used all of the existing products in the world?
Just crush up some biscuits and roll it in that.
So what you're saying is Chad Gable Biscoff edition.
They're always looking for new products.
How did we get to this? Anyway, right. So Paul has indeed closed out the predictions. We do not have a matching set at all, as I've said now. So fingers crossed, Andy will just be able to keep the title for himself next time.
So what you're saying is all we need to happen is Andrade to win the men's, Alexa or Rhea to win the women's, and then I'm not quite sure how to help you. Yeah, of course. And then what's his either of the title matches to go a certain way, and it'll just balance itself out nicely for a 1-1-1-1 across the board.
God, please God no. Anyway, that does bring us to the end of the predictions, and unless anybody has any other business, no. then indeed that does bring us to the end of this episode of Getting Over. So thank you very much to you two gentlemen for joining me. Thank you very much to Max for sending in some predictions. And obviously thanks to him for listening. And next time round, who knows, you may even get to see the man himself. It wasn't just my feeble attempt at getting two sets of predictions to try and win for a change. Seeing as I couldn't take a tie break, Max is a real person, and you will see him on an episode in the future.
Did we ever cover this on the podcast when it was the NFL fantasy
That's
situation?
all I can think about. That's all I can think right now is what, like when Paul had 4 teams in the fantasy football.
Well,
I've got a friend who wants to join.
There are still people in there who I've never met. So between us, do we know the full set between us? Is the big question. Anyway, that's a very niche conversation for the end of the wrestling podcast. But no, thank you very much to everybody who's listening, everybody who's watched along on YouTube, and if you haven't yet done so, drop us a like, drop us a share, drop us a subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to us, and we'd really appreciate it. And obviously, you'll get the best of Cookie Cast, which is obviously everything that we put out. The wrestling, the darkest timeline, the F1. Not so much the football at the moment, since we're now in the close season, but obviously it will be ready to drop straight into your podcast inbox when it arrives. And all the NFL, again, the same kind of deal. So yeah, really appreciate you spending some time with us, and we shall see you next time around. Thank you very much.
So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone. Money in the Bank to look forward to. If you've got predictions for Money in the Bank, if you want to give us your opinion on what you think might happen or anything wrestling related, do get in touch. Obviously, before that, like, share, subscribe, comment, all those juicy things. And then jump over to the website, thecookiecast.com. Click one of our social media links, or even try out our email button. If you want to get involved, send your predictions, just send us what you think is going to happen. If you want to do that, we will send you a wrestling-related prize. How about that? That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode of Cookie Cast, please like, share and subscribe.